Path of the Iron Asura. Chapter 3. Zhengong's days always passed in the same rhythm. Dawn, before the sun rose, when darkness had not yet lifted, Zhengong naturally opened his eyes. 3 months after starting training, his body's cycle had completely changed. Before, he'd wake only when the sun rose, but now his body woke on its own before dawn's first light colored the sky. Stepping outside the cabin, cold dawn air struck his face. Breathing deeply, his lungs filled with cold, and exhaling slowly, white mist rose from his mouth. He began by loosening his body, slowly rotating his neck, relaxing his shoulders, bending his waist, stretching his legs, loosening each joint one by one, moving slowly but surely, as Heijin taught. Muscles awakened and joints became supple. Then Shaolin footwork practice began. Empty stance, feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent to maintain center. Bow stance, one leg forward with knee deeply bent, back leg extended to lower center. Forward step, stepping forward while shifting weight, then back, left and right, moving slowly, matching breath to each stance. Inhaling and exhaling, body and breath becoming one. As the sun began to rise, red light spread beyond the mountains and birds began to chirp, but Zhengong remained focused on footwork practice. Sweat beaded on his forehead and ran down his back. Even in the cold dawn air, his body heated up. When Heijin opened the door and said, "Eat breakfast," Zhengong went inside the cabin and ate a simple breakfast of porridge, vegetables, and kimchi, chewing slowly, as Heijin taught, focusing on each bite, eating with gratitude. After breakfast, real training began. First was striking the tree. The large tree standing behind the cabin is what Zhengong used for training, its bark already stripped away in many places, revealing the flesh. Zhengong stood before the tree and assumed horse stance, feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, waist straight, right fist drawn to waist, left hand extended forward. He drew up internal energy from his dantian. As warm qi rose from below his navel, he slowly but surely made the internal energy flow along his meridians. Passing through Mingmen, it grew stronger. Ascending the spine, it grew faster, splitting left and right at jiaji, gathering at the shoulders jianjing points, passing through the elbows ku-qi points, concentrating and gathering in his fist. Qi sinks to dantian, silently reciting the incantation Heijin taught. Force focuses in fist, concentrating internal energy in his fist. Will moves qi forth. He extended his fist. Thud. Though his fist didn't touch the tree shook. One pace, striking the tree from one step away, tree bark peeled slightly. Taking his stance again and extending his fist, again thud, the tree shook. Repeating 100 times, his fist ached and his arm tingled, but he didn't stop. As Heijin said, enduring pain was training, and pushing just a bit more when the body felt its limits, that was growth. After completing 100 repetitions, his hands blistered and blood seeped out, but strangely, he felt good. He felt the achievement and pride of having done it. Returning to the cabin to wash his hands and applying the herbal ointment Heijin made to the wounds, cool, and the wounds healed quickly. Now it was time for jar training. The 2 large jars placed behind the cabin were each the size of Zhengong's body, specially made by Heijin. Zhengong drew water from the well and filled the jars until overflowing. The weight was tremendous. Just lifting one felt like it would wrench his waist, but he had to lift both simultaneously. Jeongong shouldered a jar on each side and stood up. His knees wobbled and his legs trembled, but he gritted his teeth and endured, and began climbing the mountain. Slowly, with each step, tremendous pressure bore down on his knees, thighs trembling, calves tightening. His shoulders felt crushed and his neck stiff, but he didn't stop, continuing upward. The mountain path was steep and rocky, easy to misstep, but Jeongong naturally applied Shaolin footwork, maintaining center, distributing weight, stepping firmly with each step. 10 steps and his breath grew short. 20 steps and his legs felt like giving out. 30 steps and he felt like collapsing. But 40 steps, 50 steps, 100 steps, he kept climbing. Reaching the summit, his whole body was soaked with sweat, legs trembling, shoulders red and swollen. But the sense of achievement surged. Setting down the jars, resting a moment to catch his breath and looking at the sky, clouds drifted slowly, wind blew cool. Then shouldering the jars again and descending the mountain. Going down was harder than up, greater impact on knees, harder to maintain center, but he lowered his center with Shaolin footwork and descended slowly. Reaching the cabin, filling with water again and climbing again, repeating 10 times. When he first started, he couldn't manage even 3 times, but now he could do 10. His body had grown stronger, muscles increased, strength gained. After completing 10 times, he could barely stand, staggering into the cabin and collapsing on the floor, gasping for breath, his whole body soaked with sweat, wringing his clothes with drip water. When Haijin handed him water, saying, "You worked hard, rest," Jeongong gulped water like quenching a burning throat, cool water flowing down, vitality returning to his entire body. For lunch, he ate rice, soybean paste stew, and vegetables. Haijin's food was simple but delicious, and above all, restored energy to his training-exhausted body. After eating lunch and resting briefly, in the afternoon he took a basket and went to the mountain to gather herbs. Herbs were everywhere on the mountain, but precious herbs were in high places, dangerous places. Seeking lingzhi growing in cliff crevices, ligusticum blooming between rocks, alisna growing by water, he roamed the mountain. Climbing cliffs, grasping rocks with hands, stepping on crevices with feet. High, looking down was dizzying but not frightening. Shaolin footwork had become part of his body, knowing how to maintain center, knowing how to distribute force, knowing how to move his body. When large rocks blocked the way, he jumped over or went around, lightly flying his body with Shaolin footwork. Qinggong wasn't completely mastered yet, but he was getting the feel of it. When leaping up, his body felt lighter than usual, seemed to linger in the air a bit longer. When herbs were high in trees, he grabbed branches and climbed. Sometimes branches broke. Even then, not panicking, his body moved reflexively, grabbing other branches or turning his body to reduce falling impact or maintaining center with Shaolin footwork to land safely. One day, climbing a cliff, his foot slipped. Stone crumbled, body tilted backward, about to fall, but with his toe he kicked another rock, turned his body, grabbed the stone above. Shaolin footwork. Even without conscious thought, his body had moved on its own. Then Jeongong realized Shaolin footwork had completely become part of his body, no longer needing consciousness. It came naturally. By the time he gathered herbs and returned, the sun began to set. Returning to the cabin with the basket full of herbs, Haijin looked at the herbs with a satisfied expression and said, "Well done. This should be fine for a while." After drying and organizing the herbs, before dinner he trained 100-pace divine fist. Standing at a distance from the tree set up in the cabin's front yard, now 2 paces was completely familiar. He could shake the tree even from 2 steps away, and Haijin told him to move to 3 paces. 3-step distance was harder. As distance increased, internal energy scattered more easily, requiring more internal energy and stronger concentration. Zhenggang assumed horse stance, drew up internal energy from Dantian, made it flow along meridians, concentrated it in his fist, and extended. Bang! Force burst forth, but the tree didn't move. Internal energy had scattered midway. He tried again. Once, twice, 10 times, 100 times he tried, but the tree didn't move. "Don't be impatient," Haijin said. "As distance increases, difficulty increases geometrically. Take it slowly." Zhenggang calmed his mind. Right, can't be impatient. Going from 1 pace to 2 paces also took 2 months, so 3 paces would take time. For dinner, he ate rice, soup, and side dishes. Dinner after finishing a day's training was especially delicious, chewing slowly, savoring the food. After eating dinner came the final training, breathing method practice time. Sitting cross-legged, spine straight, both hands on knees, eyes closed, regulating breathing, slowly inhaling, slowly exhaling, dispelling distractions, emptying the mind. Focusing on Dantian, he felt warmth like a small ember below his navel. Zhenggang focused on that warmth, making the ember grow bit by bit. It was internal energy. Drawing up internal energy, circulating it along meridians, starting from Dantian to Mingmen Point, ascending the spine to Bai Hui Point, descending again to Yi Tong Point, passing the neck to Shanzhong Point, descending the abdomen back to Dantian, completing 1 circuit. Small heavenly circulation. Warm qi enveloped his whole body. Tired muscles relaxed. Pain disappeared. Body recovered. Miraculous. No matter how harsh the training, by night his body was fine, because breathing method practice healed the body. After training for an hour and opening his eyes, he felt his body had lightened, refreshed.
"Well done," Haijin said. "Now sleep. Tomorrow is training too." Zhenggang went to bed, tired but satisfied. He'd done it today and would do it tomorrow. 3 months passed this way. Zhenggang's body had completely changed. His height seemed to have grown a handspan. Shoulders broadened, chest thickened, solid muscles settled in arms and thighs. His face had changed too. Cheek flesh gone, jawline distinct. Even his gaze seemed sharper than before. Not a child's face, but a boy's face. His martial arts had improved too. 100-pace divine fist 2 paces completely mastered. 3 paces he was starting to get the feel of. Shaolin footwork now came as naturally as breathing. His body remembered. Internal energy seemed twice as deep compared to when he first started. Haijin said with satisfaction, "You're doing well. At this pace, in a few years you'll become quite a capable master." And Zhenggang felt proud to be recognized by grandfather. One day, Zhenggang asked Haijin, "Grandfather, may I go to the village to sell herbs?" Haijin hesitated a moment, then nodded. "Yes, go, but be careful. Don't get too deeply involved with people." "And?" "I know, grandfather. I'll be careful." Haijin patted Zhenggang's head. "Good boy. Return before sunset." Zhenggang wrapped dried herbs in a cloth, slung them on his back, and descended the mountain, moving lightly, much faster than before. When he arrived at the village running the mountain path, the sun hung at midday.
At the village entrance, people gathered, murmuring. Something big must have happened. "I heard last week a cow was taken too," one farmer said. "This time even a person was injured," another farmer asked. "The Choi family's son went to the mountain for firewood and encountered a tiger, barely saved his life. His leg was bitten, won't be able to walk properly anymore." "A tiger? When was the last time a tiger appeared around here?" 10 years at least. Even when I was young, tiger stories sounded like legends, and now one appears. And not even an ordinary tiger. Heard it's enormous. The Troy boy said it was big as an ox, eyes glowing like torches. Nonsense. Scared out of his wits, exaggerating. How could a tiger be big as an ox? Anyway, be careful. For now, going to the mountain alone is dangerous, especially deep mountains. Absolutely don't go.
Zheng Gong listened carefully. Tiger. A tiger had appeared in the mountains, and his heart grew uneasy. A tiger had appeared in the mountains where he gathered herbs every day. "Sir, where did that tiger appear?" Zheng Gong asked. The farmer looked at Zheng Gong. "Who are you?" "Ah, the herb-gathering boy who lives in the mountains? They said the valley on the opposite side from the mountain where you live. But be careful, tigers have wide territories." "Yes, thank you." Zheng Gong went to the medicine shop and sold the herbs. The medicine shop owner examined the herbs with a satisfied expression. "Good quality. Where did you gather them?" "Deep in the mountains." "These days a tiger appeared in the mountains. Be careful. Don't go alone." "Yes, I'll be careful." Getting money and coming out, the villagers were still talking about the tiger. "Heard the authorities sent hunters but haven't caught it yet." "Catching a tiger isn't easy, especially that big." "Heard they requested a monk from Shaolin?" "Shaolin? What's Shaolin coming for?" "To catch the tiger. Shaolin martial arts can subdue even beasts." "Ah, really? Then that's fortunate. When Shaolin monks come, they'll catch it quickly." Zheng Gong flinched at those words. Shaolin. The Shaolin monks grandfather warned to be careful of were coming to this village? Hurriedly leaving the village and climbing the mountain, Zheng Gong kept alert to his surroundings. Even the rustling of branches made him flinch. Even the sound of grass swaying in wind made him listen. But nothing happened, and he arrived safely at the cabin. "Grandfather!" Zheng Gong opened the door and entered. He Jin was drinking tea. "You're back. How was it?" "Grandfather, I heard about a tiger in the village." He Jin's face hardened. "A tiger?" "Yes, a big tiger appeared in the mountains, took a cow, and a person was injured. Someone called the Choi family's son had his leg bitten." He Jin set down his teacup. "Where did it appear?" "The valley area, the opposite side from our mountain. But—" Zheng Gong hesitated, then spoke. "They requested monks from Shaolin." He Jin's face went pale. "Shaolin?" "Yes, coming to catch the tiger." He Jin stayed silent for a long time, gazing out the window. Zheng Gong felt grandfather's expression darker than he'd ever seen. "Grandfather, are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine." He Jin nodded, but his voice was weak. "Jianggang, don't go gather herbs for now. It's dangerous." "But grandfather—" "No." He Jin's voice was firm. "No matter how much you've trained, dealing with beasts is different. Especially tigers are kings of the mountain. Even those who've learned martial arts can't casually face them. And—" He Jin stopped speaking. Jianggang could guess what grandfather wanted to say. Shaolin monks. Grandfather wanted to avoid Shaolin monks. "Yes, I understand." That night, Jianggang couldn't sleep. Tiger, Shaolin, grandfather's dark expression, everything weighed on his mind. Several days passed. Jianggang trained only near the cabin, striking trees, carrying jars up and down the mountain, practicing 100-pace divine fist, but didn't go gather herbs. The cabin's herbs began running out. He Jin needed to sell at the village to earn money. Without herbs, they couldn't get through winter. Had to buy rice, buy salt, buy oil. On the third day, Jianggang could endure no longer. "Grandfather, I'll be careful. I'll only go around near the cabin. I won't go to deep mountains." Haijin hesitated, then nodded. "Absolutely don't go to deep mountains, and you must return before sunset. Understand?" "Yes, grandfather." Jiangang took the basket and went up the mountain. The herbs near the cabin were already gathered, so he had to go a bit higher, but didn't go to deep mountains. Wandering rocky places, sunny places, gathering angelica, carefully digging out roots and putting in the basket, gathering ligusticum, cutting stems and putting in, gathering astragalus, filling the basket halfway. Just a bit more, Jiangang thought, just a bit more, and the basket would be full. He went to a rocky area. He knew precious herbs were there, lingzhi growing between rock crevices, Haijin's especially favorite herb. Climbing rocks, moving lightly, he found lingzhi, a large lingzhi with a red cap. Reaching out, carefully picking it and putting it in the basket. Then it happened. Rustle, rustle. The sound came again, this time closer. Jiangang slowly raised his head. Something moved between the trees. Big, enormously big. Tawny fur and black stripes, golden glowing eyes, mouth revealing fangs. It was a tiger. The villagers' words weren't lies. Really big as an ox. No, looked bigger than an ox. Shoulder height alone was Jiangang's height. Body length looked to be 2 steps, muscles solidly attached, claws sharp, teeth gleaming like swords. Jiangang's whole body froze. Even breathing felt frightening, heart pounding madly, pulse sound in his ears. The tiger slowly approached Jiangang, lowering its body, tensing muscles, slowly swaying its tail, eyes fixed on Jiangang, preparing to hunt.
Jiangang knew he had to run, right now. Slowly, very slowly, he backed away, not taking his eyes off the tiger. Sudden movements would provoke the tiger. Slowly, carefully. But the tiger didn't stop, continued approaching. The distance narrowed. 10 paces, 8 paces, 5 paces. The tiger's muscles tensed further, scratching the ground with hind legs, about to pounce. Jiangang turned and ran at full speed. Stepping on trees, kicking rocks, running, but behind came a growling sound. The tiger was chasing. Jiangang looked back. The tiger was chasing on all fours, fast, incredibly fast. The distance narrowed in an instant. Jiangang ran faster, zigzagging between trees, jumping over rocks, running down hills, but the tiger kept chasing. Weaving through trees, jumping over rocks, descending hills, child's play for the tiger. Jiangang thought, "Grandfather, the cabin is that way. If the tiger goes there, grandfather will be in danger. Grandfather can't use martial arts, can't handle a tiger." Jiangang turned direction, toward the opposite side from the cabin, toward deep mountains, luring the tiger. The tiger followed, seemed to have no intention of letting Jiangang go, chasing persistently. Running through trees, thick trees, thin trees, fallen trees, all avoided. Jumping over rocks, large rocks, small rocks, sharp rocks, all carefully crossed without misstep. Descending steep slopes, maintaining center, descending. Jiangang's breathing grew rough, legs trembling, chest ready to burst, but couldn't stop. The moment he stopped meant death. Behind came the tiger's breath, close, so close he seemed to feel the tiger's breath on his neck. Jiangang changed direction again, going sideways. The tiger momentarily lost balance, and in that gap he widened the distance, but the tiger quickly regained balance and chased again. A valley appeared, a narrow valley, both sides blocked by cliffs. Jiangang jumped into the valley, running along the narrow path.
The tiger followed in, but the valley was narrow, the tiger's speed slowed slightly, and Jiangong widened the distance more in that gap. But the valley ended, a dead end. Ahead, a large rock blocked the way. Jiangong stopped and turned. The tiger was slowly approaching. Nowhere to flee. That's when it happened. Something else appeared from ahead. Another tiger. Smaller than the first tiger, but still larger than ordinary tigers. Shoulder height about Jiangong's chest, body length about 1.5 steps, but eyes equally sharp, fangs equally frightening. Jiangong realized he was surrounded. Behind, the large tiger chases. Ahead, the small tiger waits. Left and right were cliffs, nowhere to flee. Clever creatures. The large tiger drives the prey, the small tiger waits ahead. Hunting strategy. Planned. These tigers weren't simple beasts. Jiangong looked around. Left was cliff, right was cliff. Front and back were tigers. Desperate.
The large tiger slowly approached. The small tiger also slowly approached. Distance narrowed. 10 paces, 8 paces, 5 paces. Jiangong assumed horse stance. If he couldn't flee, he had to fight. Though he had no confidence he could beat tigers, he couldn't just die. Grandfather was waiting. He had to return alive. He drew up internal energy from Dantian. Warm qi rose from below the navel, flowing along meridians, passing Mingmen, growing stronger, ascending the spine, growing faster, splitting at Jiaji, gathering at Jianjing, passing Ku qi, concentrating and gathering in his fist. 100-pace divine fist. The large tiger growled and pounced. Jiangong extended his fist. 3-pace distance, force burst forth, flying toward the tiger's flank. Bang! The force hit the tiger's flank. Thud! The tiger staggered, body swaying sideways, but didn't fall. Thick fur and solid muscle absorbed the impact. The tiger growled, lowering its body again, glaring with furious eyes. Simultaneously, the small tiger leapt from behind. Jiangong lowered his body from empty stance and rolled sideways, dodging. The tiger's claws grazed his back, clothes tore, blood flowed, hot, painful, but he endured, didn't scream. Standing, taking his stance again. This time from 2-pace distance, he extended his fist toward the small tiger. Force burst forth. Bang! Flying toward the small tiger's head. The tiger tried to turn its head to dodge, but was too late. Force grazed the side of the head. Ear tore. Blood flowed. The tiger screamed. Grrrah! The tiger retreated, shaking his head, blood dripping, but still stood growling, eyes sharper, more enraged. Jiangong regulated his breathing, used 100-pace divine fist repeatedly, but still had strength left. Internal energy trained by practicing 100 times daily, but insufficient to face 2 tigers. Must concentrate, must hit more accurately. The large tiger pounced again. Jiangong flew his body, hiding behind a tree. The tiger's claws struck the tree. Crack! Even the thick tree split from one blow of the tiger's claws. Frightening. Getting hit by those claws meant death. From behind the tree, Jiangong extended his fist, 2 paces toward the tiger's back. Bang! Hit, struck the tiger's back. The tiger growled and turned, furious eyes, no longer playing, truly trying to kill. Both tigers leapt simultaneously. Jiangong desperately dodged, flying left, but the large tiger's claws grazed his right shoulder. Clothes tore, blood flowed. Rolling right again, but the small tiger's teeth bit his left arm. Painful, incredibly painful, felt like screaming, but endured. standing, extending his fist again, one pace, almost touching distance toward the small tiger's face. Bang!
Hit. Struck the small tiger's nose. The tiger flew backward, crashing into rocks, bleeding, but stood up again, still alive. Zhonggong's breathing roughened, legs trembled. Used 100-pace divine fist many times, sustained many wounds. Internal energy wasn't depleted, but his body was reaching its limit. Blood kept flowing, arms and shoulders throbbing. The two tigers approached again, slowly but surely, now knowing the prey had weakened, preparing the final attack. Zhonggong picked up the basket. He needed a weapon, but the basket was too light. Throwing it at tigers would be useless. The large tiger leapt. Zhonggong threw the basket. The tiger struck the basket with its claws, shattering it to pieces, herbs scattering everywhere. The small tiger also leapt. Zhonggong swung his fist, gathering internal energy, wringing it out, putting it in his fist, the final blow. Bang! The small tiger staggered sideways, but wasn't completely subdued. Zhonggong's internal energy had wavered. Pain from wounds and fatigue disrupted concentration. The large tiger didn't miss the opportunity, leaping toward Zhonggong, claws flying toward Zhonggong's chest. Couldn't dodge, body wouldn't move, no strength in legs. Zhonggong closed his eyes. "I'm dying. Grandfather, I'm sorry." Thud! A dull sound rang out, but there was no pain. Zhonggong opened his eyes. The small tiger flew sideways, crashed into a tree and fell, not moving, neck bent at a strange angle, dead. Someone had appeared. A monk in orange robes, age around 50, graying beard, eyes gentle but dignified. Not tall, but tremendous presence. And behind him stood a young novice monk, looked about 10 years old. "Are you all right?" the monk asked. Before Zhonggong could answer, the large tiger leapt toward the monk. The monk didn't even move his body, just extended his fist slowly, leisurely. But from that fist, tremendous power was felt. Thud! The large tiger stopped in mid-air. No, flew backward, as if hitting an invisible wall, crashed into rocks with a thud, and fell, not moving, also dead. Zhonggong was stunned. Killing a tiger with one punch? 2 of them? The fist didn't even touch. "You're injured." The monk approached Zhonggong and examined his back. "Not deep, but needs treatment." The monk took medicine from his robes and applied it to Zhonggong's back. Cool sensation, pain subsided. Also applied medicine to shoulder and arm wounds. Miraculous, so painful moments ago, but applying medicine made pain disappear.
"Thank you, master." Zhonggong bowed his head. "Not at all. Heard news of a tiger in the village and came searching. Happened to see you fighting." The monk's gaze sharpened. "But I must say, the martial art you used, might it be 100-pace divine fist?" Zhonggong froze instantly. Grandfather's words came to mind. Be careful of Shaolin." Zhonggong shook his head vigorously. "No, just punched with my fist." The monk's gaze grew sharper. "Just punched? Then how was the tiger pushed back so far? You clearly infused internal energy." "No, really not." Zhonggong shook his head harder. "I don't know such things." The monk examined Zhonggong carefully. In Zhonggong's eyes, along with fear, signs of trying to hide something were clear. "What is your name?" Zhonggong." "Zhonggong. Who do you live with? Your parents?" "I live with grandfather, in the mountains." The monk's gaze grew even sharper. "What is your grandfather's name?" Zhonggong shook his head. "I don't know." "Don't know?" The monk made a puzzled expression. "Living with grandfather, but don't know his name. Does that make sense?" "I really don't know. Grandfather didn't teach me his name. I just call him grandfather." Zhenggang's voice mixed with trembling. The monk looked at Zhenggong for a long time, then spoke. "I'd like to meet your grandfather. Shouldn't I at least greet him regarding handling the tiger?" Zhenggong's face went pale. "Grandfather, the Shaolin monk mustn't meet grandfather. Grandfather said to be so careful." "No!" Zhenggong shouted. The monk looked at Zhenggong with a surprised expression. Grandfather doesn't like meeting people." Zhenggong's voice trembled. "Why not?" "I don't know. He just doesn't like it. So no, absolutely not." Zhenggong backed away, looking at the monk with wary eyes. The monk thought for a moment, then said in a gentle voice, "Child, I'm not trying to harm you. It's just that the martial art you used is very similar to Shaolin's." "I said it's not. I don't know martial arts," Zhenggong shouted. Tears welled in his eyes. Just please leave, please." The monk looked at Zhenggong and sighed. The child was desperately lying to protect his grandfather. He could feel that pure heart, but at the same time suspicion grew. Clearly learned martial arts, why hide it so desperately? "All right," the monk nodded. "I won't ask further, but these wounds must be properly treated. Rest for now." The monk approached Zhenggong, checked the wounds once more, and applied more medicine. Zhenggong stood still, tense. "Now go home before sunset,"
the monk said. Zhenggong nodded and hurriedly gathered the herbs scattered on the ground. The basket was broken, but wrapping the herbs in his clothes and holding them, he finally bowed to the monk. "Thank you, master. Then I'll be going." Zhenggong hurriedly left. Descending the mountain path, he kept looking back. The monk and novice monk stood there watching him. Zhenggong ran faster, moving quickly between trees and rocks. After running for a while, he looked back. No one. Zhenggong sighed with relief. But a corner of his mind was uneasy. What if they were following? Zhenggong left the original path, going a different direction. Going around the valley, crossing large rocks, passing through dense forest. A long detour, but just in case. After going around and around, he finally arrived where the cabin was visible. Zhenggong checked his surroundings once more. Seemed like no one. Zhenggong walked toward the cabin with relief. "Grandfather!" Zhenggong was about to open the door and enter when a voice came from behind. "Finally arrived." Zhenggong turned in shock. That monk and novice monk were walking out from behind trees. The monk's face had an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry, but you tried to hide it so urgently that it made me more suspicious. So I followed." Zhenggong's face went pale. His whole body trembled. Grandfather. He had to protect grandfather. Heijin opened the door and came out. Seeing Zhenggong's torn clothes and wounds, his face went pale. "Zhenggong, what happened?" Heijin's voice stopped because he saw the monk standing behind Zhenggong. Orange robes, a Shaolin monk. The monk also saw Heijin, eyes widening, shock crossing his face. "Heijin?" All color drained from Heijin's face, lips trembling, legs wobbling like he'd collapse right there, hand grasping the doorframe. Master, Heigok." Heigok, Shaolin's high monk, a fellow who trained together when Heijin was at Shaolin, someone who was there when Heijin was expelled, the person in the highest position after Abbot Heiwan. Heigok slowly approached Heijin. "Is it really you? It's been 10 years. Heijin couldn't answer, just stood with head bowed, his hands trembling, his whole body trembling. Zhenggong felt the strange atmosphere between the two, grandfather's expression darker than he'd ever seen. No, the word dark wasn't enough. Fear. Grandfather's face was shrouded in fear. Heigok said nothing for a moment, then spoke. "This child, is he your disciple?" Heijin slowly shook his head. No, not a disciple." Heigok's gaze sharpened.
Then what? This child clearly used 100-pace divine fist. He-Jin couldn't continue speaking, just lips trembling. "Grandfather!" Jung-gong ran to He-Jin and embraced him. "Grandfather did nothing wrong." He-Jin looked at the two alternately and sighed. "For now, let's go inside and talk. This isn't something to stand outside for." He-Jin hesitated, then nodded and opened the door. The four people entered the cabin. Inside the cabin was narrow. With four people, it became even cramper. He-Jin tried to brew tea, but his hands trembled, couldn't properly grasp the teapot. Collapsing just like that, he knelt before He-Gok's feet. "He-Gok, please." He-Jin's voice trembled. Tears welled in his eyes. This child did nothing wrong. Everything is my fault." He-Gok silently looked down at He-Jin. He-Jin continued speaking. At first it was just for this child's health. I rescued and raised a child dying in the snow, but his body was too weak. So I was going to teach only basic breathing methods to make his body strong." He-Jin's voice trembled more. But this child was too talented. Seeing him grow day by day, I grew greedy. Just a bit more. Wanted to teach just a bit more. Like that, I gradually came to teach deeper martial arts." He-Jin pressed his forehead to the floor, prostrating. "It's all my fault. I broke the promise. I violated Shaolin's rules. This child did nothing wrong, just followed what I taught." "Grandfather!" Jung-gong knelt beside He-Jin. Tears ran down his cheeks. "No, I pestered Grandfather to teach me. Grandfather said no, but I kept pestering him." Jung-gong also pressed his forehead to the floor and cried. "It's my fault, not Grandfather's fault. Please don't punish Grandfather." He-Jin embraced Jung-gong. Both were crying. He-Jin's tears fell onto Jung-gong's head. "I'm sorry, Jung-gong. I got you into this predicament." "No, Grandfather. Grandfather saved my life. I can't live without Grandfather." He-Gok silently watched the two. The novice monk also had reddened eyes, head bowed. Inside the cabin was quiet. Only the sobbing of He-Jin and Jung-gong could be heard. He-Gok slowly turned his body, gazing beyond the open door. The distant sky was visible. The sun was setting, red light dyeing the mountains. He-Gok stood long gazing at the sky. Wind blew, cold winter wind.
Author's note: if you enjoyed listening and reading, please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications.